Then.
Hello, everybody, and yes, good evening. It's evening in Europe right now, and welcome to Uplifters. Wow, it's been 1 month since the previous episode, and I'm like, so many things happened in 1 month, and I'm not sure where I should look for what has been the most important highlight, but what is important about this setting tonight of the Uplifters is that this is a series dedicated to all of you who would like to know more about your journey in consciousness. If you would like to have a gentle one, I have the privilege and how to delight. And actually, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background to invite and to present to you one of my dearest friends, Mr. Alun Jones, who's here with us tonight to, should I say share, or should I
Yeah,
say invite, or whatever it's
all of
appropriate,
those.
yes, for you tonight. So, Alan, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so, so, so much for having accepted this invitation.
You're
And
welcome.
I would like just to say something before we start and we dive into it. We've known each other for a few years now, and we met in a context that none of us is actually active in at this moment. But I would like to say that I'm so grateful that whatever our paths brought to us, we met and we had those exchanges that brought our bodies together and our souls together. And have a look, we are advancing differently, but in
Yes.
so beautiful ways. So, Ellen, thank you for accepting this invitation. And for those who don't know you, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a funny thing, a naughty thing about you, and what is this thing with the consciousness and the journey of healing?
Okay. I always kind of go immediately like, when, people say, introduce yourself. I think, God, I'm so boring. But,
You're not.
no, I know. But it's like, that's what happens in my head. That's actually part of a whole different topic about complex PTSD. But yes, which is an interesting concept. So yeah, my name is Alun Jones, and I have been working with people, not specifically about consciousness, but helping people to kind of coaching, healing, whatever, in many different ways for 30 years, which I
I'm not. I'm
I
not.
know, and
Wow.
I look at that and I think, God, I sound really old, But anyway, and it kind of does surprise me when I look at that of, more than half my life, and even, and I will go all over the place, so please feel free to interrupt me. But even when I was at school, as I was growing up, I was the person that people would come to talk to always. I was the one, and so that's been a theme. People apparently like talking to me, and there you go. So that's kind of how it started. And so over the years, lots of different modalities, lots of different techniques, lots of different tools that I learned. And hello, Miriam. Sorry, I just saw your comment. And you can shoot me now if you want and take me off this call. But having spent
I
the last
won't do
10
that. I
years
won't do that.
pursuing consciousness, and I'm doing it like that on purpose because, am I allowed to swear on this? Just to check if I'm
You're
allowed to or not.
allowed. You're Alan.
Okay,
So let's agree on one thing. Please be who you are.
sure. I
I'm not.
just
So
don't.
if you want to, whatever, just go for
Right.
it. Just go for
I
it.
just want to kind of make sure that I kind of go with the guidelines of what people won't be offended by. But I don't give a fuck about consciousness. I just don't. And having spent 10 years kind of trying to get consciousness right and do consciousness and be more conscious, what I've realized over this last 12 months in not just my life, but the people that I'm working with, people actually just want to be able to deal with life. Consciousness for many people is just such a concept that's so huge and so far. It's like, yeah, consciousness. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to stop beating myself up? How am I going to deal with stress? How am I going to be kind to my body? How am I going to have more fun relationships? What am I going to do about my job? And consciousness, and people go, oh, well, consciousness will fix all that. Well, no, right? And so when you're making consciousness the thing that you're aiming for me, it can take over and totally distract from mental well-being. Mental well-being is one of the biggest things, again, for the last 10 years. I'd been ignoring no mental well-being, no, that's nonsense, get rid of your mind. And over this last year, I've made mental well-being, mental health, my biggest priority.
Wait,
And
I have to ask. So what is it for you, this mental health? What are you speaking about when you're speaking about
sure.
mental health?
So mental health for me is in some ways very similar to some of the work that I've been doing with people over the last 10 years, but it's using it, it's getting out of the patterns of self-criticism, the habits that we kind of get into in terms of putting ourselves down, telling ourselves we're no good, giving ourselves time to actually have some peace and quiet, taking time out each day to have some quiet time, making sure we get out in nature, lowering stress levels, because when you lower stress levels, because stress in the body creates cortisol and adrenaline and all sorts of other stuff, which actively destroys the cells of the body. So you actually are killing yourself with the stress that you're choosing. And if you don't start to put in place practices, habits, whatever, to start to manage that, then everything starts to suffer. And so it's about kind of building your habits so that you can live your best life, whatever that best life is for you. And it's so individual. It's getting out of the comparisons. It's not getting caught up in the rat race. It's taking time off from social media. Cleanse, like for all of you, one of the things is like, look at your social media feeds, look at what you're reading, look at the things that you follow. And Facebook and Instagram have a horrible habit of using their algorithms to kind of funnel you into stuff that isn't necessarily healthy or kind or supportive. And even just taking a look at kind of body image, I notice on my own Instagram, I actually cleanse my Instagram regularly to actually have pictures of bodies and people that match more like my body shape as it is right now. And over time, it gently weeds its way back to six packs and big bulges and, chiseled features and, all of this stuff. And that's not good for the mind when you're constantly worrying, constantly stressing. And so that's what mental well-being, mental health is for me. It's recognizing the signs when you're under stress, under duress, under post-traumatic stress, when you're suffering from trauma, and putting in place tools and activities and techniques and stuff to take care of it.
I just want to, pinpoint something. You're saying trauma. What is it trauma? What is it trauma in your view? I'm going to give some information over here, because people speak about trauma and speak about pain and hurt and suffering and healing, and they kind of mix everything together and they add a layer of drama on top of it. So what is it for you, trauma, exactly?
Right. And that's a really great point. And I take that, I totally agree with it. Trauma can be so different for different people, and what can be traumatic for one person may not be traumatic for someone else. And trauma can happen from something as simple as a child as being shouted at, or being in a room where someone is shouted at. And we don't even necessarily pay attention to that. Like at the time, something may have happened, and then we lock it into our body or into our mental, and we tuck it away. And that's where the complex post-traumatic stress disorder comes in, where you're kind of going through the rest of your life, and we have what we call these emotional flashbacks,
Yeah.
where something can trigger that one thing that you don't even necessarily remember straight off, that then kind of cause, and so you'll have these panic attacks and worry, and then you'll start getting stressed, and then you think, why am I stressed? And then you'll add a whole load of other stuff on top of it, which then disguises the original cause, and then you have all these other kind of seemingly traumatic events, and then we become really sensitive to stuff. And that's where complex healing, it's not just as simple as going, oh, it's just a choice, because it isn't a choice. We don't love, and one of my things I hated the most is, what do you love about trauma? No one fucking likes trauma.
No.
And I know I'm being really intense, and I don't care. For me, we do not choose trauma because we love it. We do it because we're triggered. We do it because we perhaps don't know anything different, and we've not been given the tools to recognize where it's happening. And
I'm laughing about that because I know that right now you're speaking to a huge, how should I call it, segment of the population who's actually in between worlds, trying to deal with, and what do I like about trauma, and at the same time resenting themselves because there is this pain or this suffering that they cannot get hold of, or so to me it's like you were saying something like, every time that there is a traumatic episode, we kind of lock it into the body or into the mental to deal with it, probably at a later time, but we somehow forget because we are so magic, we forget about stuff. But I learned something along my journey, that the body has a certain order when it comes to healing. You cannot ask a body to heal and to repair, let's say, a fracture until it allows itself to heal that. And before you heal the bone, there is so much more to heal before. So can you say something about how do you deal with it? Because most of the times I'm what you call a super achiever. So if it hurts, if it's pain, I have to be A plus B is C. It took me years to understand that my C is not the C that my body requires. So how do you deal with that?
And I think, in terms of kind of, so let's look at the kind of the pain piece first of all. No, we don't enjoy feeling pain. What we want initially for a lot of people is finding immediate relief. I need to make this pain go away. I need to get rid of this pain. I need to get rid of this pain. And unless you are present with it and start to address the root cause, you then have the pain of not being able to change it. I must be stupid. I must be this. I must be this. And so you then pain on pain on pain on pain. And for me, one of the things that can really, in a supportive environment, is to be present with the pain, allow ourselves actually to experience it, be in that moment. Because and then you can start to ask questions and use different tools to start to, but initially this whole thing around, is it yours, blah blah blah, like get rid of it, all of that stuff. And so in terms of how do we start to pick it apart, for me, and so again, let's also look at pain as well in terms of our mind is a marvelous thing when we're kind to it and when we work with it rather than against it. And when we have very clear boundaries with our mind, that it doesn't actually run amok and go crazy. Yeah. So it's that we're co-workers, teammates, whatever you want to call it, pilots, co-pilots. Not one of you is kind of better than the other one. It's like a co-creation. And the mind, unfortunately, doesn't know the difference between what is actually happening and a memory of what's happening or a projection of. So if you have and the mind is brilliant how it does this. But if you have like an old memory of something that you then start that caused you trauma or severe stress, and you start thinking about it, your body thinks it's happening, your brain thinks it's happening, and
Yeah.
it starts to react to it. What your brain also does is it matches situations. When you come against new situations, what it does is it searches through dynamically all your memories that you probably not even can't even remember, and it goes, does it match with this, does it match with this, does it match with this, oh, it matches with that. If it's even slightly energetically, or kind of however you want to describe it, matching of a previous experience, this must be the same as that, therefore. And then it kicks in, this is how I cope, I do A plus B equals C. And that may not be the best approach to it. So it can depend on what the pain is, and how the people, what triggers the pain, where you start to look at what actually would be the most effective way of dealing with this. When I'm having what I call an emotional flashback now, what I do, I'll make sure I don't put my hand over my microphone, is I just put my hand on my heart and I just close my eyes and I feel my body under my hand, and I feel my feet on the floor, I feel my breath, and I just say to myself, this is not happening. This is an
Wow.
emotional flashback. Because when you let your mind know that it's not happening, this is a flashback. You can start to kind of back and be more present. So this is why breathing. People talk about, oh yeah, breathing. Breathing does, because when you're stressed and worried and in anxiety, you breathe more shallowly, which means you're not getting enough oxygen in, which means your brain starts to panic.
You're
Right.
in a prey modus.
Yeah, you're in fight or flight. And so when you slow down your breathing, force yourself to slow down your breathing. And I don't off the top of my head remember the chemical that does, but when you actually put your hand on your heart, it gets the body to start to release a calming chemical. So
Like oxytocin, probably, but I'm not sure
quite
either.
possibly that. There you go, you see. And so what happens when you do that, I love just sitting in the morning, just quietly, sometimes with my eyes open, sometimes closed, and I will just sit with my hand on my heart. It's such a gentle way for me just to reassure myself.
You said you already have an experience of 30 years already.
Yeah,
Trying different stuff. But for somebody who, they are going through a moment, and there's that it's the highway is rather to go to, oh, this is wrong and that is wrong and that's going to happen and that's a catastrophe. How did you start building? Because to me, this is a build up process. Is like you have to start somewhere. And as you said it, when you're not finding the result, how should I say, the solution to your problem,
yeah.
immediately you go to pain on top of pain on top of pain. How do you get present with what's there when you're so used to looking only for what is not working and for what is probably possibly going to hurt you in the future as well? How what would you say?
Good. That's a great question. And I think for me, like having years of being doing this and asking questions, asking, like for me, inquiry, and asking questions from a supportive, nurturing perspective, not trying to get the right answer, not looking, and my first question that I would always ask is, what's actually going on here? What am I feeling? Acknowledge you have feelings.
Yeah.
They're not bad, they're not wrong. They're actually like little lights on your dashboard that tell you when your little red light flashes on the dashboard, you don't go, oh, that's just a red light, I can get rid of that, I just have to ignore it, it's somebody else's red light. No, 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 it's on your dashboard. You need to look at it and go, what's it telling me? So when you're looking at whatever, let's say you're in kind of you've been triggered and you're in fear mode. Let's look at money, right?
Yeah,
Because money triggers.
our favorite subject,
Yeah,
beyond
money triggers.
besides bodies. Yeah.
Yes, but buddies and money, money and
Monies
bodies.
and bodies.
Yeah, monies and bodies. So when you look at money, it's like what actually happens for you. And for some people, especially at the moment, I again, I'm not going to ignore what's going on in the world. There is, especially in this country, and we are incredibly aware. Let's not forget that. But there's a lot of people stressing and worrying about money. I know I've been there myself this year from changing my whole business. I'm having to regrow it in a completely different way. And there have been moments where I've gone into panic, like, how am I going to cope? What's going to happen? And of course, just flipping back to what I was saying earlier on, of course, what my brain does then is that, oh, we've been here before, and this is how we coped with it before. We did this and this and this, and none of those things necessarily were helpful. So when you look at money, it's a case of, okay, so what am I feeling? And where am I feeling it in my body? What is this feeling telling me? What is the feeling? It's fear about what? Fear about how I'm going to pay my bills. Okay, so what actually, and then I start to ask more questions. So what is it I actually fear? Or what is there a projection or a conclusion that I'm making here? So what is it that's causing the fear? I'm not going to be able to pay my bills and I'm going to lose my home. And this is where I would perhaps use a question from someone like Byron Katie. Is it true I'm not going to be able to pay my bills in this in this segment of my life? Is it true I'm not going to be able to pay my bills in 20 days time? I don't know. In this 10 seconds, I can't guarantee that I won't be able to pay my bills. Okay. So what do I need to put in place? What actions can what actually is required here? What if I'm not good enough? So you look at that. What if I'm not good enough to make the money? And you go into, I don't have enough clients to make this money. Right here, right now, you maybe don't have all the clients, but it's like, so what do you need to put into place? What actions do I need to take to ensure that's there? What other possibilities? What are the choices that I can start to look at? So inquiry for me is the biggest thing. What is actually going on? What's required? Is it really happening? So you start to differentiate.
This part with, is this really happening? And
Yeah.
I would add my favorite question all the times: what am I aware of?
Yeah.
Because there is there have been so many instances where you go into a shop and all of a sudden the credit card or the debit card, you put it in the machine and you're waiting there for 10 seconds and it doesn't do the beep beep, and you go instantly into panic, and it's all the shame and all the guilt and all the, oh my god, what people are going to say. But basically, what are you aware of? How many people have already been in that situation, and because you're there, you're just you're picking it up
And
and
also,
you're running with it.
absolutely. And then also, for me, because when you were talking about that, there have been times where I know my card's been declined.
Oh, then
Because
there were the worst moments of my life, and they left, as we were starting to speak about that, they left a trauma behind, which has
yes,
never been solved. It's just
we've
this,
never
oh my god,
healed it.
I hope it's never going to happen again. um
So when you walk up with your credit card, what's basically happening is your body is almost preparing you and it's triggering you.
yeah.
So it's like, okay, so now that's a trigger for me. Actually paying with a credit card can be a trigger for me.
Yeah.
All right, so that's information. If you feel that fear when you get it's a bit, and so the more you do it without tackling it, the worse, and not the worse, but the more intense.
The funniest instances are when you're trying to buy flight ticket, and because of the stress that you're going to pay, you book on the wrong dates, and
Yep.
then of course there's disaster on your credit card, and there's all kind of stuff that's coming with it. I find it funny right now, but it happened a few times with me, and I was like, what is this? What am I aware of, and what am I not looking at? Now I stopped traveling for a while, so it's
So don't have to worry about it. I remember the first time I went to Rome, I'd booked my return flight on the wrong day home. And I just remember kind of looking at this, thinking, Jesus, I'm supposed to be leaving. My apartment's only booked till tomorrow. Like, what am I going to do? And for that first 30 seconds, I was in such a blind panic, I couldn't even think. So then I just started to ask questions. Okay, so let me look at this pragmatically. What I need to get home. So let me go and book unfortunately, I did have the money to book another flight. And I started asking questions like, what other opportunities or what other possibilities are available that I haven't even explored here? What else can I explore? What other avenues are there? And so I kind of went on, and I actually ended up, and I asked for things, I do kind of the more pragmatic stuff, but I play with energy, and I'm like, okay, universe, tell me, show me, how can this turn out better than I can think it can? And I ended up getting a 35 euro flight home, one row behind first class. There was I was the only one on the row. I managed to book in. I found a really amazing space in Rome airport where there was nobody in there. There was a bit like a kind of a luxury lounge, but it kind of wasn't. And I flew, and I had an amazing kind of quiet flight home. And when I literally, by the time of landing, I was on my train back home in half an hour. I was like off with my luggage, through kind of security and everything, in half an hour, and on my train home. Like, that was fucking amazing. And it cost me 35 extra euros. That was it.
Well,
so
yeah.
It's about challenging the flashbacks. Like, is this, like, what actually is going on? Is, like, how much of this is what's going on now? How much of this is a flashback that's triggered? So for me to get rid of my triggers, I use EFT very much now.
So what is, because I didn't want to go look it up. I knew you would be coming, and I'm like, so I would like to know, what is EFT?
Okay, so emotional freedom technique, and it kind of was created or adapted by Gary Craig, and effectively, a lot of what we do, I was just talking about when you're triggered, and when you when you're going into these kind of old habits, old patterns of A plus B equals C. And what we need to do when we get into those habits, those habitual ways of working or functioning, is to do a pattern interrupt, is to do something that actually stops the brain from kind of immediately going down the highway. So if you think your brain is a bit like, you drive to work the same way every day. No, ignore that. Let's do it this way. You walking through a jungle along the same path every single day. And so what we're doing with EFT is like, this path is just not working for me anymore because I keep getting attacked by lions. But it's the only path I have. I'm so used to it. So let me start to cut a different path through the jungle. And so when we start to create this new pathway, there will be days where we get triggered and we go back down to where the lions are. But then we kind of, we like, this is where the lions are. And the more we kind of pattern interrupt, and I don't do that anymore, I do this. So EFT kind of gives you, it gets you out of the wrongness and judging yourself of what you've been doing. And it works on a kind of a mental level as well as an energetic one. So what Gary noticed when he was doing, or what kind of the creators noticed what they were doing with when they were coaching people, facilitating people, was he was talking to this woman who was suffering from, I think, anxiety or something was going on. And he said, where do you feel that in your body? And she was like, in my stomach. So he knew that the acupressure point for the stomach is on the meridian and just under the eye here, which is why you tap. So when you're doing EFT, what you're doing is you're saying a phrase, and then you're tapping on acupressure meridian points, so that not only do you interrupt the patterns in the brain, you actually start to create the energetic shift, so you don't get
Wow.
stuck energy in the body.
Oh, wow. It's like I've heard about EFT, but nobody explained it to me like that. To me, it was like tapping the body. The only thing that I was tapping was my thymus from time to time to, like to revive my whole body. But
Which
I didn't,
actually you can just tap like this, just very gently, and it actually can really help relieve anxiety, panic attacks.
and I've been doing it, like every time I have a moment of deep thinking, or when I kind of feel like I lose control, but not in a good way. I'm like, okay, so it's instinctual. It's like normal. It's like, or
What
when
does your
I'm
body know?
yeah. So when I'm speaking with somebody, and it's like I don't have arguments to convince somebody because I'm not into convincing, but somehow I will notice that there is a difference, a shift when my hand rests either on the thymus or on the heart. This is just empiric observation, but
Yeah,
apparently it's not that only
it's not that
empiric.
crazy. And so one of the acupressure points, one of the meridian points, is on the collarbone, just on the little nodule.
Uh, uh, uh.
So you've got the
Oh,
two nodules on the
yeah.
collarbone.
The
Just
ones I
there.
would like to see, when I'm slim enough, when I lose weight, I like to see them, but
Just as long as you can feel it, just gently, just gently
yeah.
tap.
And what is that?
That's just one of the acupressure. That's one of the meridian points that you tap on with EFT.
And does it make a difference if it's left or if it's right or if it doesn't
No,
matter?
when I get people to tap, I will often say to them, tap with your non-dominant hand, because what you're doing, you have to think about it. Remember, we're pattern interrupting. So when
Yeah.
it's like smokers, when I get people to, or people come to me for smoking, like when I want to stop smoking, it's like smoke with your opposite hand, because often it's so habitual to smoke or lift a drink with, or eat cakes, which is me, like packet of biscuits, like my right hand is like, if I eat with my left, I have to coordinate, and I don't just run amok. So with EFT, it would go something like this. So you would tap on what we call the karate chop point, and just very gently tapping. And then you can repeat after me if you would. Even though I get, where are we? Bear with me. Let's just have a think. What could we look at? Something really simple. Even though I'm feeling stressed right now,
Even though I'm feeling stressed right now,
I deeply and profoundly accept myself.
I deeply and profoundly accept myself.
And even though I really don't like feeling stressed,
And even though I really don't like feeling stressed
and it won't seem to go away,
and won't seem to go away,
I deeply and profoundly accept myself.
I deeply and profoundly accept myself.
And even though I get really frustrated
And even though I get really frustrated
when I can't make the stress go away, yeah,
when I cannot make the stress go away,
I choose to be easy on myself.
I choose to be easy on myself.
Okay, so then we go to just above the eyebrow, and you're very gently tapping just on just almost just above the inside of the eye. There you go, like so.
Yeah, I
Here,
say.
yep.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really stressed.
I'm feeling really stressed.
Side of the eye. I really don't like it.
Side of the eye, like
Just
here?
yeah,
Just okay. I
yeah,
really don't like it.
and under the eye. I can feel it in my body.
I can feel it in my body. Huh.
And then under the nose, and I feel so tense.
And I feel so tense. This is a strange feeling.
And on the chin, my stomach is really tight.
My stomach is really tight.
And on the collarbone, I can feel my jaw really clenched.
I can feel my jaw really clenched. Oh.
under the arm. So where you're in the middle of where your bra strap would be.
How would you know that, Alan?
Years of practice. My whole body is really tense.
My whole body is really tense. Wow.
And then just the top of the head, just very gently. Yeah. And I really want it to go away.
And I really want it to go away.
And then to the eyebrow. I'm not even sure why.
I'm not even sure. Wow. Well, why? I said wow.
Not sure why this is even happening.
I'm not sure why this has been happening.
Yeah. I guess I'm just triggered.
I guess I'm just triggered.
Under the eye. But I really want to change it.
But I really want to change it.
Under the nose. I just want to feel relief.
I just want to feel relief.
Chin, but I'm not sure I can right now.
But I'm not sure I can right now.
Collarbone. I am open to changing this.
I'm open to changing this.
Under the arm, but I'm not sure how.
But I'm not sure how.
And then top of the head. I wonder how I can start changing this.
I wonder how I can start changing this.
Eyebrow. Maybe if I'm easy on myself.
Maybe if I'm easy on myself.
Side of the eye. Maybe if I'm gentle with myself.
Maybe if I'm gentle with myself.
Under the eye. Because right now I am safe.
Because right now I'm safe.
Under the nose. Even though I have this stress.
Even though I have this stress.
I choose to start letting it go.
I choose to start letting it go.
Collarbone. I give my body the freedom.
I give my body the freedom.
To start letting it go.
To start letting it go.
Under the arm. So as I continue to relax.
So as I continue to relax.
Top of the head. I know I can deal with this.
I know I can deal with this.
Eyebrow. Because I am strong.
Because I'm strong.
Side of the eye. I am resilient.
I'm resilient.
Under the eye. I am calm.
I am calm.
Under the nose. I am creative.
I am creative.
And chin. And I can do this.
And I can do this.
So I choose to be easy on myself.
So I choose to be easy on myself. Oh.
Under the arm. And I acknowledge that I'm a changing person. Sorry, I forgot to say.
And I acknowledge that I'm a changing person. I guess I just needed to be longer there.
Sorry. Yeah.
No worries.
And top of the head. I love knowing that this is changing for me.
I love knowing that this is changing for me.
Eyebrow. And it may not change immediately.
And it may not change immediately.
Side of the eye. But I allow it to continue to change.
But I allow it to continue to change.
Under the eye. I am safe letting this change.
I am safe letting this change.
Under the nose. I choose to be easy on myself.
I choose to be easy on myself.
Chin. I give myself the freedom of being calm.
I give myself the freedom of being calm.
Under the collarbone. I accept all my feelings.
I accept all my feelings.
Under the arm. Because I am worthy and deserving.
Because I'm worthy and deserving.
Top of the head. And I am enough.
And I am enough.
Okay. Just relax your hand. Take a deep breath.
Phew.
What did you notice from any of that?
Me personally. So the first time that we started to tap,
Yeah.
it was like a warm discharge in my body.
Okay.
That's the first thing that I perceived. And then I was trying to follow your words, but somehow it's just the stress that was there was like tiki 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 away. So I'm not sure that if I repeat it correctly after you, but the effect is that I'm like, okay, this is going away. Wow.
Okay. So that's how I tend to do tapping in a session, because it's like I've been doing it for a long time. It doesn't have to be that complicated. So
Is
I've
this
just done,
complicated?
well, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? Have I say
Ah,
more?
okay. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
that
What words
that
am I supposed to say? Right. So you don't have to do any of that. So I just did in October 20 days every morning, 5 minutes of tapping, no words.
just knowing the points.
So
And
yeah, so let's do it. So just very gently, just breathing and being present with your body, just tap.
at this point, I would like
Yeah,
to invite everybody to
yeah.
just try it.
Just
And
tapping just above the eyebrow,
hmm,
and then the side of the eye, just being present with your body. And then under the eye, noticing your breathing, allowing your stomach to relax as you breathe.
there's a softness,
Yeah.
there's a gentleness that
Under the nose, and notice how fast you're tapping, and maybe even just slow it down very slightly. Just notice what happens when you slow it down or change speed.
it's warm. It's so warm.
And then on the chin, feeling your feet on the floor. And then collarbone, relax your shoulders. And under the arm. And top of the head. And then relax your hand, take a breath. So you can do just 5 minutes of that every morning, and also before you go to sleep. And
Wow.
this is part of what I'm saying about, when we start being committed to taking part of our care of our mental well-being, this is part of it. That's awesome, Suzanne. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Is that Ahmed? Is that how we pronounce that? That's really nice of you. Just
Ahmed. Yeah.
Ahmed, right? So that's one way you can do it, because we don't always have words for what we're feeling. It's like I just feel this and I don't know what it is. Just do no words tapping, just focusing on your breathing, very gently breathing, relaxing your breathing. And you can also do the setup phrase, which is what we call this, even though I'm feeling stressed or even though I'm feeling anxious, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. Even though I'm feeling anxious, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. Even though I'm
That
feeling anxious, I deeply and profoundly accept myself. You can do it really simply. And then you would just go, I'm feeling really anxious. I'm feeling really anxious. I'm
is it
feeling really anxious. So, yeah.
is it actually naming what you're feeling at that
Yes.
moment and just going through all the points, like,
Yes.
okay, put a name on whatever is coming up and tap it away. Well,
Acknowledge, what is actually happening.
this is absolutely fabulous. And wow, thank you so much for this gift. And I know there are so many out there who would like to know more about this. And where can people find you? Because I know that you also have monthly calls where you deal with a lot of topics. You also have sessions, and as you said, 20 days of tapping without words. I know that you're inviting people to be in this kind of practice. And some of us are not good of doing it by ourselves. We like the group
That
the group context. And so where can people find you, and what is it there right now that's like bubbling in your
sure.
world?
Well, so in terms of the EFT, I do two group calls a month, and they'll usually be different topics. One of my topics this month is going to be around money, and I'm also going to do another one this month, which is um, uh, bring what you like. So it's like it's just a free for all. So like if you've got something going on that you want to kind of have relief or kind of help on, then we'll have just this open session where we'll tap on it. And everyone who's on the group is encouraged to tap along, even though the issue may not seem to be theirs. So if it's not yours, you will still get change from it. So, and I do a monthly meditation, and I also do like a quantum healing and transformation session, which is kind of just relaxing. And then I also do each month I call them vibrational congruency. So it's about, oh, sweet Suzanne, you're so welcome. So it's about being vibrationally congruent with what it is that you want in your life. So your vibrational match to it. So I do that. And I also have a monthly call as well. I have one coming up this Sunday called Living Your Best Life. But
And
I'm literally in the process of creating a 21-day mental health challenge. So we'll go on a journey for 21 days, and each day you'll be given a new idea, topic, tip, technique to start taking care of your mental health. We'll start with a Zoom call on day one, but the rest of it won't all be Zoom calls. It will be giving you things that you are invited to go out and try and start building mental health wellness, like taking care of it, into your day-to-day stuff. But as a group, we do it together, which is why I did the 20 days of tapping. We all got together in Europe time, 8:30, every Monday to Friday for 4 weeks.
And what I would like to add is that you have an absolutely delicious newsletter. That's one of
Thank
those
you.
newsletters that I read. So I would like to invite everybody watching this now in the future, whenever you come across this episode of the Uplifters, to go check yourself in for that newsletter. It's not going to leave you the same way when you found it. And
Oh,
thank you so
very kind of
much
you.
for your contribution, for being there, for being this resonating, how should I say, heart that puts out on social media mostly, because that's where we connect most of the times, your heartfelt view on whatever is happening. This is so precious and this is so inspiring. And some people might not agree with it, and some people might have a lot of whatever, but those who want to hear will hear. Those who want to listen will listen. And I'm so deeply grateful for the gift that you truly are in my life, first of all. So thank you so, 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 so much for having been our guest tonight. And if we are to leave people with one phrase, like the one that stays with them, without making it too significant, what would that be?
Be gentle and kind with you as your highest priority.
Wow.
Like, really, in a nutshell, be gentle and kind with you as your highest priority all day, every day. And just behind that is the more you are gentle and kind with you, the more you can be that for other people. So, seriously, like, something I've really learned this year is that there is a gentleness and a kindness that flows through everyone. And the more you kind of embody it, the more you embrace it, the more you show yourself the kindness and the gentleness, the more you invite people and show people how you like to be treated. It's about having those healthy boundaries. So make it your, and so when you're looking at, is this kind to me? Is this gentle to me? And if it's not, how do I change it? yes, please, please, please be gentle and kind with you. There's enough harshness in the world. We've had people be harsh to us throughout our lives, I'm sure, and we are harsher on ourselves than we are on anybody else. Please stop.
Wow. So this was it. Beautiful friends. And Alan, thank you so, so,
Thank
so
you
much.
for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for just the pleasure of sharing and stuff. So yeah,
This was a gentle journey into healing. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, we'll meet again soon. I don't have a date for the next episode, but whoever would like to be my guest, just let me know. And I wonder what else can we create together in the world with gentleness, with kindness, and with being ourselves. Kisses and hugs, and enjoy the evening.
thank you,
Mwah.
everybody. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.